Now I am beginning with this current slide, which is on requisites of laser system. One of you unmute and tell me whether you are hearing me properly or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now unmute yourself. Right. And requisites for laser system are 3 in number. And these are the source of energy for excitation, and then the resonant cavity, and also the active medium. These are known as requisites. Yesterday, I was telling you about the conditions. Although there are a number of materials having the ability to produce the laser, they need to satisfy certain other requisites. Conditions are the internal characteristics to be possessed by a material, and requisites are the external parameters to be satisfied. For example, you people who are studying in this college, and you have the capability of studying or understanding the concept, everything. That is your internal characteristic. Conditions for a student to understand the concept is sufficient IQ level and some interest in the subject. They are the conditions. But those conditions are not enough for learning. The system has to provide some infrastructure like classroom. For example, now the online class arrangement. So such external arrangements are also required. Appointment of teacher, assisting staff. So there are many parameters which decide your learning process. Similarly, if a laser device will produce the laser if it can be provided with some infrastructure. They are the 3 requisites. One is the source of energy for excitation. Source of energy for excitation means when you supply the energy to a system that will absorb the energy. We have discussed yesterday, induced absorption will take place. And induced absorption will make the atoms to excite. That means their energy will be higher. Only high energy electrons or atoms will be able to produce the laser while coming down to the ground state, while returning to the ground state. So the energy supply is very necessary for a given system. It may be carbon dioxide, it may be a semiconductor, it may be the aluminum chromium mixture that is known as the ruby laser. There are hundreds of laser devices, all need the energy source. Some need light. For example, ruby laser, the first laser discovered by Maiman was the ruby laser. Aluminum and chromium ions were mixed in the proper proportion and laser was produced. And in that, the source of energy was light. So light means ordinary light. Xenon lamp was used in fact. So that ordinary light, when it is supplied to the system of atoms, they absorb that energy and go to higher energy level. This kind of excitation of atoms from ground state to the higher energy level by the absorption of optical energy is known as optical pumping. Some laser devices need electrical energy. For example, semiconductor lasers, they need a cell or a battery for excitation process. Therefore, electrical energy is used in the case of the semiconductor laser. That's why the process of excitation in the case of a semiconductor laser, which is utilizing the electrical energy, is known as electrical pumping. And active medium. Active medium means it is the system of atoms or the ions or the molecules or the electrons which have the ability to produce the laser. For example, if you take the carbon dioxide laser, it's a gaseous laser, it will have 3 types of gases: carbon dioxide, nitrogen, as well as the other one, helium. But all the 3 gases will not produce the laser. Only carbon dioxide molecules can produce laser. That's why the system of carbon dioxide molecules are said to be active medium in the carbon dioxide laser. The helium and nitrogen molecules are simply supporting them. For example, a leader can lead a group or the state or the country with the support of the other leaders, second line leaders. We can say the prime minister can lead the country with the support of the ministers, and a minister can lead the country with the support of the officers, and an officer can do his job with the support of the assisting staff. In that way, the system of atoms, some atoms or some ions will help the other atoms to produce the laser. Those which are having the ability to produce the laser are comprising or constituting the active medium. So that it is defined that a system of atoms or the ions or molecules that has the ability to undergo population inversion and to produce laser. So this point I missed. Now you are getting the point that active medium is the one which has the ability to produce laser. But when will it produce? As I described yesterday, it can produce the laser only if it has the metastable state, because if it has the metastable state, it can achieve the population inversion. Once the population is inverted, stimulated emissions will take place. Only then laser is produced. That's why all those materials are the system of atoms or electrons which have the ability to produce laser by undergoing population inversion is known as the active medium. And resonant cavity. Resonance is well-known phenomenon I have described while talking about the module number 4 while discussing the vibrations. Resonance is the phenomenon in which the two frequencies are matched. One is the applied frequency, other one is the natural frequency. So what is the result? Result is that the amplitude will be highest or it is maximum when resonance occurs. Here in terms of light, if I have to define the resonance, it is the phenomenon in which the intensity of radiation becomes very high. And for that, a cavity is required. The cavity is simple. If it is the laser device, it should be fixed with two mirrors on the two ends. One is partially silvered mirror, this side, and the other one is fully silvered mirror. So if the laser is produced within the material, it should be completely reflected back to the medium of incidence. That's why it is fully silvered mirror. And the partially silvered is the one which partially reflects and partially transmits. Part of the laser is transmitted and part is reflected. So here the reflected rays will undergo constructive or destructive interference. But if you properly choose the distance between the two mirrors, that has to satisfy this condition. 2 times the length of the device must be equal to n lambda. Means the condition for constructive interference or even integer multiple of the wavelength is required between the two rays. That is the path difference between the two rays to undergo constructive interference. So if this condition is satisfied, majority of the rays which are reflected here will undergo constructive interference so that the intensity will be increased, because you know that the destructive interference will destroy the intensity, but constructive interference constructs the intensity or enhances the intensity. So that is an advantage for amplifying the light in the laser. So the laser so produced and amplified will be transmitted here, that can be used for application. So resonant cavity or laser cavity means it is a system of two parallel mirrors which have the ability to reflect the laser produced within the material so that the rays will undergo constructive interference. So here parallel mirrors are forming a cavity of length L. The 2 times that length should be equal to n lambda. That is the condition for constructive interference. So these are the 3 requisites. So external parameters to be satisfied by a material, I mean the laser device. In fact, in your syllabus, there are 2 devices to discuss. One was the carbon dioxide laser, the other one is semiconductor diode laser. And since we are all in trouble nowadays, I have reduced the syllabus, I mean the notes, not the syllabus, the notes to smaller quantity, as I have already told you many times, so that I have removed carbon dioxide laser and put only semiconductor diode laser. If you study this one, it is enough for the examination. You just drop the carbon dioxide laser for this time. So semiconductor diode laser is one of the laser devices. I was saying that there are hundreds of devices. Starting from the ruby laser, which was discovered by Maiman in 1960, hundreds of laser devices were constructed. 3 types of laser devices are there: solid solid laser device, gaseous laser device, and semiconductor laser device. Of course, semiconductor is also solid, but it is a special case. That's why we say that it is the third one. It is the recently developed diode laser, and it is finding many applications. Semiconductor diode has found hundreds of applications in the industry and of course the medical field also. Let us understand how to construct the semiconductor laser diode. Semiconductor laser diode requires a semiconductor as the title itself indicates. But that semiconductor cannot be a silicon or germanium. Gallium arsenide is the material, was the first semiconducting material used. Of course, nowadays hundreds of semiconducting materials have been developed. The first semiconductor, someone has not unmuted, please do that. So semiconductor, the first semiconductor that was used was the gallium arsenide. And the reason for using that gallium arsenide was that its energy gap was little higher than that of the silicon, because silicon has energy gap 1.1 electron volt, whereas the germanium has just 0.7 electron volt. So when the electrons are excited from valence band to conduction band in that semiconductor, I mean in the germanium or silicon, the de-excitation process will produce the radiation, but heat radiation. So that semiconductor, silicon and germanium, cannot produce the laser. That can produce heat. So that is not suitable for producing the laser diode. And therefore, we need a semiconductor having higher energy gap. Why? Because when the electrons go from conduction band to the ground state, that means to the valence band, they have to lose the energy. That energy should appear in the form of light. If the energy has to appear, means the radiation has to appear in the form of light, the energy gap should be of the order of 1.5 to 3.1 electron volt. If the energy gap is above 1.5 or below 3 electron volt, only then that material can produce the light. Otherwise, if the energy gap is smaller than 1.5 electron volt, that will produce only ordinary heat radiation, thermal radiation. So that we need the semiconductor of higher energy gap of the order of 1.5, 1.8 to 2.2, 2.3 electron volt. Such semiconductors are used. That is the reason why gallium arsenide is used. Of course, gallium arsenide is used to develop LED, also light emitting diode. But the difference between the light emitting diode and this semiconductor diode is that in the LED, the Fermi level will be lying within the forbidden gap. Fermi level, we have discussed it in the second module while talking about the Fermi energy of electrons. I have told you that Fermi level is the highest occupied energy level. Up to that particular energy level, all the energy levels will be filled by electrons, but all energy levels above that Fermi level will be vacant at 0 degree Kelvin. Of course, at higher temperature, even the energy level above the Fermi level will be filled, because we provide the energy, they absorb and go to higher energy level. So that is a different case. But what is the advantage of having the Fermi level in a material? If it is within the forbidden gap, then it simply acts as an ordinary light emitting diode, means that emits nearly monochromatic light, but that is not laser. That will still have a number of wavelengths. Therefore, LED light is not strongly monochromatic. And in order to improve the quality or characteristic of the same gallium arsenide material, the doping level will be made very high. If the doping level is made high, Fermi level of the p-type semiconductor goes down to valence band, and Fermi level of the n-type semiconductor goes up to conduction band. So if the Fermi level exists within the conduction band of n-type semiconductor, more number of conduction electrons will be available for the material to conduct electricity. Similarly, if more number of holes are created in the p-type semiconductor, then it is easier for producing higher current in the diode. You can just take an example of a government. Government will permit hundreds of engineering colleges just to open, so that all the colleges are producing thousands of students, nearly 50 to 60,000 are thousand students are coming out. I mean, engineering graduates are coming out just from Karnataka engineering colleges. If all these 50, 60,000 students do not find the vacancies, means the jobs, then most of them will be unemployed. So the government, while creating the engineering colleges or while generating or producing the engineering graduates, it has to produce the vacancies also. But it is mismatching in the government. It is producing only the graduates, but not creating the vacancies. If it is producing 60,000 engineering graduates, it is creating only 10,000 vacancies. That's why remaining 50,000 students, means graduates, will become unemployed. Here also in the semiconductor diode laser, if you just create higher number of electrons, it is not enough. You have to create higher number of vacancies also. They are the goals in the p-type semiconductor, so that when the electrons go from n region to p region, they will find a place to occupy. Otherwise, that system will be disturbed. So that when we improve the number of free electrons on the n region, we have to improve the number of holes on the p-type semiconducting region also. That will be done by improving the doping level, so that semiconductor diode is heavily doped diode when compared to LED. Same gallium arsenide is used to produce both the LED and semiconductor diode, but while preparing the LED, doping level is not very high, but while preparing the semiconductor diode, doping level is made very high, so that the free electrons concentration will be very high. Similarly, number of holes is also very high, right? That is the basic thing to be understood. And in here, in the construction, you are observing that such a gallium arsenide semiconducting diode block is shown. P region and N regions are here. The PN junction is here, and that PN junction diode is connected to a cell. Or of course, battery can also be used. So battery means combination of cells. So this is the forward biased diode now. P-type region is connected to positive terminal of the battery, negative to N region. Therefore, it is forward biased. And the region across the junction is said to be active medium. So here you can observe the 3 points which I described in the previous slide, that the requisites. What are the 3 requisites? One is the source of excitation. So electrical energy is supplied for excitation of energy. And other part is that the resonant cavity. Resonant cavity, here external mirrors are not used. These two opposite surfaces are highly polished. Because of highly polishing surfaces, these surfaces will have high reflectivity to the laser produced within itself. So that the two surfaces which are highly polished will act as the mirrors, and they can reflect the laser beams to within the material to undergo constructive interference. And the polishing level is made little different, such that this surface will allow a part of the laser to transmit. Therefore, the laser gets transmitted. That can be used for applications. So second point is clear. The third point is that the active medium. Here, the semiconducting region, especially across the junction, is active medium. I tell you the reason why only this region, narrow region across the junction, is helpful in producing the laser. I will tell that while discussing the working principle. Let me summarize about the construction. While discussing the construction, you have to keep 3 points in your mind. One is the source of excitation. You have to say that for this semiconductor laser to work, we need to connect a cell or a battery such that the PN junction diode is forward biased. Second point is that the active region is a narrow region across the junction. And the third point is the well polished two opposite surfaces, or surfaces perpendicular to the junction, are acting as the mirrors and providing the resonant cavity for the laser to undergo constructive interference. And all other surfaces are roughened so that no laser can transmit through the other surfaces. Right. Now let us understand the working principle of the semiconducting laser. In order to understand the working principle, this band diagram is required. When the P and N type regions are created during the construction of the diode, the conduction band of the P region and conduction band of the N region will not be at the same height. this will be at little lower height as compared to the height of the P region. This kind of arrangement of the conduction band will happen in a semiconducting diode. And this is the junction region, PN junction region. And this portion represents the valence band of the P section, and this is representing the valence band of the N section. Right. And now if you switch on the power supply, obviously the current will start flowing through the junction. Of course, if the supplied voltage is above the barrier potential, then the electric conduction can take place through the PN junction. So during the conduction of electrons, an electric current is said to be flowing through the circuit. During the flow of current, that means during the transition of electrons from valence band of N region to the conduction band of the N region. This is the transition. When you supply the energy, the valence electron go from valence band to conduction band. And due to the forward biasing of the P and N region, since P region is at positive potential, these conduction electrons will be attracted. Therefore, these electrons can cross the junction and go to P region. And while crossing the junction, they obviously lose the energy, hence they will not go to the conduction band of P region. They will go to lower energy level, that is the valence band. During the crossing of the PN junction, I was saying that they lose the energy. The energy that they lose will appear in the form of a radiation. When the current flowing through the diode is below a critical value, the emitted radiation is simply spontaneous radiation, spontaneously emitted radiation. Because of the spontaneously emitted radiation, it is not the laser, but there is an advantage. This spontaneously emitted radiation has the photons. These photons will also be absorbed by the electrons of the valence band of N region, so that these atoms or electrons of the valence band, on absorbing the energy of these photons, will go to higher energy level, that is the conduction band. So now there are two sources of energy. One is externally supplied electrical energy, the other one is internally developed optical energy. So this is involving both the electrical pumping and optical pumping. Optical pumping happens internally and external pumping happens because of the external source of energy. Right. Because of that reason, I mean, because of the optical pumping and electrical pumping, most of the electrons will become free and become conduction electron. So what happens? Population inversion takes place. If the population inversion takes place, then the photons which are created during the transition of electrons from N region to P region will not find any job in the ground state, I mean in the valence band. So what should happen? These photons have to necessarily or inevitably interact with only the electrons of the conduction band. So stimulation is said to happen. Now, when the current that we supply to the PN junction diode, if it exceeds a critical value, let us say IC, critical value, only then the stimulated transitions can happen. If the current is smaller than the critical value, then there will be only spontaneous emission of radiation. Hence, the emitted radiation will not be the laser. So, in order to produce the laser, you have to keep the current above the critical value IC, so that the electrons of N region, while crossing the junction and going to the P region, they lose the energy that will appear in the form of laser, because this is the stimulated de-excitation. And electrons which are going from N region of this, means conduction band of N region to valence band of P region, is said to be electron hole recombination. That's why sometimes we say that the laser is produced in a semiconductor diode because of the electron hole recombination. It is called recombination because the hole was created by electron itself. During the excitation from valence band to conduction band, it leaves a vacancy, and that vacancy is filled by some other electron. That's why that electron hole combination is called recombination process. So now I think it's clear. Let me summarize. In the case of a semiconducting diode, when we supply a current or when we supply a potential difference above the barrier potential, the electrons of N region will cross the junction and go to P region because of the forward biasing. During the transition, I mean during the movement from N region to P region, they lose the energy, which appears in the form of spontaneous emission of radiation if the current is below the critical value. If the current exceeds IC, then most of the electrons will become free conduction. They become conduction electrons, and these electrons, while crossing the junction, lose the energy, which appears in the form of laser. So that laser was found to have the wavelength around 8500, is close to infrared region. This is about the